Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We're in our 23rd year of bringing you unbelievable real estate information. I'm Harvey Freed. Alongside of me, Harry Glantz.
Good morning, Harvey. Morning, everybody out there. And you know what? Another one, Harvey. Another snowstorm. We made it through another week. I keep wearing all my spring stuff. It's just not working, but I'm not going to give up.
All right, do not give up on spring.
Can't give up.
And of course, this morning we bring you none other than the great Becky Alley.
What is going on, everyone? Good morning. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't mind the snow because I like to snowboard, but people do forget. Like when we lost all that power, it's like four-way stop. Like people forget how to drive. I'm like, dude, they're like, I go. No, you go. No, you go. I go. I'm like, oh, I'm just going for
Somebody
you.
asked me how the roads were yesterday because I guess I was the only one on the road. I said, the roads aren't bad. It's the other people that are on the road with me that are bad. They
Dude,
don't know what they're
I
doing.
drove out to Southfield twice yesterday because I had to go to Blue Pearl. They're amazing, vet. But I had to drive out to Southfield twice yesterday, pick up my dog at the emergency vet. She's all good, thank goodness. But I was like, get out of here.
Yeah,
Becky, you bring in Sotero Lopez, the great Sotero Lopez. I said Sotero, no dancing in here today, but welcome to our show.
Oh, love to be here.
Yeah.
Love to be here.
Sotero is amazing. So if you're not following on social media, make sure you're following him because he literally cracks me up with the stuff he's posting. But it's also really you put out good information, right? So it's entertaining, it's good information. And what I love about him too is that he is one of those agents that genuinely cares and has that servant's heart, like we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Love it.
You're just born for real estate, and of course you're over at the EXP offices and
Yes.
all around Southeast Michigan.
Yes.
Anywhere you want to buy a house, you'll travel there.
Anywhere. It doesn't matter. I've sold a house 3 hours away. I drove there for it.
All right, I don't feel bad. I did drive up to Alpena once for a transaction a long time ago, so it's worth it. Hey, we'll take your calls live here in the studio, 248-539-9797. As much as mortgages sometimes aren't sexy, I feel like we've got a lot going on in the industry, Harry. There's been a bump in rates. Again, the interest rates came down a little bit in January. The applications went up. Then they slowed down. The rates burped up a little bit. And again, the Fed continues to meet and talks about raising again.
Yeah, what's going on in the market is you really have to stay away from the national media. You have to stay away from the national news about what's going on around the country because here in metropolitan Detroit, southeastern Michigan, things are going gangbusters. And even the snow, even last week, can't stop everybody out. And all you have to do is just look across the table at Becky Alley, all right, and Sotero. They're busy. We're busy. There are purchase agreements being signed every day. There are things going on where the reality is, I wrote it down and we did a little podcast on Wednesday like we do every Wednesday morning. You've got to understand what is reality versus fiction. And what's reality in our market, Sotero and Becky, is that we're busy. And if it's busy right now on March 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, what's it going to be in April, May, and June? So we pose that question because prices of homes are not, I repeat, they're not coming down and there are not more homes available on the market coming on. Inventory is not going up substantially. So what does that mean? Econ 101, supply and demand, lack of supply, more demand, prices are going where? They're not going up. And mortgage rates haven't stopped people in general in this area from buying homes.
No, last weekend alone, we had 5 or 6 get, my personal clients got accepted offers. And a lot of them I was speaking to the listing agents regularly, multiple times those days. But at the same time, what Harry's talking about is things that we have been preaching for months, right? Call us Miss Cleo, that's fine. But we've been in the business long enough, and Sotero can attest to this, where we see the patterns, right? You need to be in line with people that are going to be responding to the market, not reacting. There's a huge difference. So we already saw these things that were going to happen. And you have homes in the Downriver area listed for $160, and they're already going $172 on March 10th.
Yeah.
With a $12,000 gap guarantee. So people are getting aggressive. They're throwing their hats in the ring because they are realizing that there is a lack of inventory. And even though there is moments of where buyers could really win, it's been a seller's market and it really hasn't changed.
Right, correct. It's like a bull. I mean, what can you do with a bull? You can't do much with a bull. The real estate market is like a bull right now, despite the panic, despite everything that people said negative is going to happen. It's just not happening.
Well, you can't see it. We always say do the math. You can't lie with the math. So if there are less homes coming on the market and you have a lot of buyers out there looking to buy homes, where are the prices going to go? Okay, they have to go up and you're going to overbid. But funny conversation I had last week with a friend of mine, Monday, Tuesday, he says to me, we're going to look at a home in this specific area. And I said, well, what's the price? And he told me the price. I said, it's done. It's over. You've already lost it because you're too late. And sure enough, the next day he goes, how did you know that house was going to be off the market? I said, because I know the area, I know the price, and if you weren't the first one in overbidding on that house, you're done. So the market in certain areas is still really strong. Again, we're sitting here at the still the beginning of March of 2023. It's cold out, and people are conducting business. So that indicates to us it's going to be a busy, busy spring.
There's no doubt about it. Housing inventories are down. The number of homes that are going to be on the marketplace have been falling really since the rebound of that Great Depression that we had, or Great Recession that we had just a few years ago.
Whatever you want to call it.
Wait. Which one are you talking about?
The recession.
I don't know.
Are you talking about the
1929?
1929?
No, the other one.
I get accused of being around that. So you're talking about 1929, or are you talking about, a few years ago?
Whatever it was.
For the Great Depression or the Great Recession that was. The investors were snapping up the homes. No doubt about that, Satiro.
Yeah.
We were getting phone calls for people saying, hey, I want a piece of this. An unbelievable amount of investors got out there and they bought up these homes. And again, now we see corporations buying them up.
Yes.
But again, if you're not ready, Harry sort of threw it out there. If you're not ready coming up or right now to pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over, it's going to get real ugly. And it's going to get uglier as the weeks go on and the weather gets nicer. There's just so many buyers out there and so few homes.
Yeah. You'd be surprised that there are investors that are not buying with cash flow buying. They're buying because they're banking on the appreciation of the market. That's
And then they're going to flip them. They're going to sell them in time, or they're going to rent them out. What are they going to do with them? So in the investor market, everybody, we get calls, a lot of calls. They want to be an investor. They want, they have absolutely no experience.
It's TikTok.
But
TikTok out there. Everyone's an investor with TikTok.
They've been reading that, okay, you know what? I have to invest in real estate. But you have investors coming in, and what are they doing? Is it a short-term play for them? Is it a long-term play? What are they thinking?
You got the new ones that's just buying. They're buying and hold, they're buying flip. But one thing they do know is that the market is going up. So they almost can't lose. So that's what I'm seeing now is people just ready to buy that may not even have a particular plan. But I work with a lot that are local, out of state, and out of country that are looking to buy and hold.
Okay, so they're a buy and hold position, rent them out, and then they're going to go ahead and take advantage maybe down the road on the appreciation.
Because you got Chase, you have these big companies and these Wall Street that are almost like secretly buying up. Even like in Atlanta, I think it was Chase that bought up so many new builds. They bought new build homes to make them rentals.
Really?
Yikes, man.
That's almost unheard of.
No, and I the fact that we talked about it a little bit, I think last week even, but it's true. I mean, what he's saying is absolutely true, especially because Michigan, like we talk about, we're still one of the very affordable states. We haven't been priced out. So, the point that we're trying to drive home is that you need to dial into yourself and your own legacy and your own financial well-being, because, when the bigger entities are understanding, they don't care what the rate is. You got to go somewhere. And if you're not buying, you're renting, and they're understanding that. So they're setting themselves up to be successful when the market does turn and the rates are going to come down a little bit, because we are going to see this cycle. It is what it is. We just have to get through this temporary moment in pain. But people from the outside are coming into Michigan. So it's very important that if you are looking to throw your hat in the ring, that you align yourself, you have the conversations. It's just conversations. Get educated. There's so many people, Harvey, we talk about on a regular basis. Education is free, and there's so many buyers that have no idea even what happened to them, and this is their second house they're buying.
No doubt about that. 3 to 5% to their mortgages that they just refinanced during the pandemic. They're going to age in place. They just don't want to walk away from that 3, 4, or 5% interest rate. That fell into another scenario, and now, again, another reason why we're short on homes. The builders have had trouble keeping up with it. The cost of the goods, the materials, getting the labor out there. I really think that's been the biggest hurdle for the builders is the labor. Them trying to get the workers out there to build these homes quick enough, and they're just not building $250,000 to $300,000 houses. If they're building, Harry, as you see it, they're $500,000 plus for sure.
Yeah, you talk to Adam, who's on the show before us, right? He's the home improvement guy, and you talk to the builders out there. It's really the labor and getting people out there. Listen, I went through a home renovation. It took about a year and a half.
Oh, boy.
And whatever the price was at the beginning wasn't the price at the end. I can tell you that. Yeah. And we're happy because we're going to stay there. So there are a lot of people out there that have 3.5%, 4% mortgages. They're doing that home remod, and they're going to stay there a while because now they've taken that home and they've go ahead and remodel it to their specific needs right now. And what COVID taught us was being at home wasn't a bad thing. So we're going to make our space the best space for us and for a long period of time. So why are people going to go ahead, especially people that want to move into that first floor master, that ranch? So they're not moving. And ranches now, as Harvey Fruit will tell you, I was not on the ranch train for a long while.
Yeah.
He told me.
I've been on the ranch train, yeah.
He told me. He predicted that ranches were going to be more desirable than colonials, and it finally came true in 2020. Right, Harv?
Becky, oh, for sure. And then this whole lack of inventory. Becky, it's really putting this emotional, feeling out there for a lot of buyers out there. They got to be on a level playing field. They got to really get that education behind them, because it's a little emotional now, because finally that house comes up on the marketplace and now your emotions are getting carried away. You might 20, 30, you might throw everything at it, including your firstborn.
Yes, and it is getting really emotional because, you have to understand that we are empathetic. We understand that the buyers, the ones that are going to really truly occupy the home. You guys have a lot of competition out there. You have step-up buyers. You have outside entities that have more money and deeper pockets than we could probably even fathom at this point, that are coming in and throwing their hats in the ring too. So we understand that, but at the same time, there is a human element to all this. And when someone is selling their house, they do want to make sure that their home 9 out of 10 times is going to someone that is going to stay in that home, that is going to take care of it. So sometimes that's going to be that winning element, and that's reaching across the aisle and having these proper conversations with both sides.
All right, we're up against our first break here. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. We'll come back. Sotero Lopez, all of the questions, buying, selling real estate. Come on back. All righty, welcome back to the show. This crazy train is a crazy real estate market. Yeah,
it's
what does that
appropriate
mean?
song, yeah.
We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage.
You like Ozzy?
I love Ozzy. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, equal housing lender. It's a little crazy train out there if you're trying to buy a house and you're not approved. And if you are approved, Becky, and we talked about this before the show started, you got to keep your stuff intact. In other words, you cannot go out and make those purchases. You can't go up and run. There's a whole do not do list.
That people close their eyes to and pretend they don't see it.
Right, yes. So let's go over that. I think it's
yes,
really important. We have Sotero here, and Sotero is a very high producing, out in front realtor. You see him on social media all over the place. But here's the thing, and Sotero, you have to know this, and the whole real estate community has to know this. So we put out, Becky, Harvey, everybody in our office, we put out things not only what you're supposed to do during the mortgage process, but Becky, we put out a list of things that you're not supposed to do once you apply for a mortgage. So go down the list and tell everybody what they're not supposed to do and what happens when they violate that list.
Okay, the biggest thing that people often violate is they'd like to buy things in the middle of the process, right? They want to lease the car, they want to buy the furniture. Do not buy the furniture for the house that you do not technically own yet.
The appliances?
Yes, the appliances, all the things, because you're doing yourself a disservice. Because if you think that your credit isn't going to be pinged or we're going to be notified, anyone and everyone is going to be notified, because that is a huge factor of what is going to be qualifying you for this mortgage. And you cannot go and buy furniture and things like that and not have to properly document it. A lot of people do the car thing, right? I got to turn in my car. I got to turn in my lease. I want to buy a new car and rent it out on Toro or whatever it is that's happening right now. I mean, these are real things that you can't make up. And even when you're telling our buyers, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, they think that they can outplay you, and you can't. It's always going to come out in the wash. And if you're going to also change a job, you can do that, but you need to properly communicate that with whomever you are working with. Do not do yourself a disservice, because there's certain things that we have to do to make sure that you are properly employed. Because when you have to, our job is to make sure that we are setting you up for success and making sure you have a mortgage that you're going to properly qualify for.
We also have on the do not list, again,
Yes.
do not open up new bank accounts. Do not deposit cash money. Do not
Yes.
deposit money that you had laying around at home.
The cash thing, yes. That's another one.
Becky, we'll list about 20 of them probably this whole show
Don't
here.
transfer money from one account to the other without telling us where it's coming from.
Yes,
the thing
it's
with
the
all these
rabbit
things-
hole. It,
Yeah,
it just
right.
it creates a rabbit hole for sure.
And all these things can be fixed, but it's a huge paper trail. It could be a problem with your transaction. It changes your debt to income ratio. And this is all what's come into play, especially with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, changing the way pricing is. Loan level pricing adjustments now are affected by debt to income ratio. It makes a difference whether or not your credit score is X. It also makes a difference if you're well qualified. If you have a 32 back end ratio, a 35 back end ratio, meaning all of your debts are only going to equal 32% of your gross monthly income. Now that's different if it's 47, 48%. All of
Yeah.
a sudden you're in trouble and the numbers change.
So
Yes.
that's a whole lot of nerdy mortgage talk, right? That's all you DTI ratio. We're
Yeah.
getting crazy here because nobody knows what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. They don't- all right. So really to go ahead and translate all of that, when somebody says, so Harry, do I really have to put my life on hold for the next 3 to 4 weeks? I can't go out and buy this. The short answer is yes. If you're going to do something, if you're going to change your job, please tell us. If you're going to go and buy that new car because your lease is coming off or your car's old or it breaks down, you got to let us know. I had money from this retirement account, or I'm getting a gift from a relative, but then that gift number changes. I mean, if you're so blessed that you have relatives are handing you money.
I call that the birth lottery.
Yeah, right. So, Becky, but you have to let us know. So you can hear all this mortgagees out there. We're talking a different language. You got to put your life on hold for a little bit, not for a long period of time, and you got to let us handle the transaction properly.
Yeah, so two things I want to just piggyback on that is when you're doing this, we are having these conversations up front, right? We're setting you up for success. There's a reason why we're saying what we're saying, because we do not want you to have to go through the extra rabbit hole, because it can be stressful enough when we're already asking you for so many documents. There's a reason why we're trying to set you up for that. And the other thing, I'll come back to it, but you have to ask if someone is calling, what's your rate, what's your rate, what's your rate? As Harvey was alluding to, there is much more than just someone calling and asking me what the rate is. There's multiple, that's a multifaceted answer. What's your down payment? What's your credit score? There's a lot of things. So people ask questions because they don't know what else to ask. And so they'll ask what the rate is. So we're going to get into that a little bit, but I want to let Sotero say what he had to say.
I just want to just reiterate to buyers out there that you want to listen to your mortgage person and your real estate agent. You have to, just like you said, I'm changing job. It may seem logical in your mind. Oh, I can just transfer this money here, but you can't do that. Mm-hmm. You have to trust them, because since a property is, or your home is one of your biggest purchases in life, if you make a mistake, it'll be one of the worst mistakes in your life, and you lose a home that you really wanted, and you have to live with that. So I just wanted to advise them to listen to your mortgage person. Don't look at a video or TikTok and you think that, okay, this makes sense, what I saw. You have to listen to them as experts.
Yeah, there's a reason why we're saying and we're doing the things that we're doing, because we've been doing this a time or two. And to that point, Sotero, yes, our job is to set you up for success. And I understand. I just transfer money. I want to live my life. I want to move money from all the things. I want to put my paycheck in there, and I want to take it out of the bank because I don't want the bank getting my money, and I'm going to put it into a safe. When you're buying a house, there's specific things that we need to get in place, and part of that is also documenting funds properly.
Okay, so I know you guys think that I don't know what TikTok is, right? I mean, you're laughing.
Heard of it.
Harry doesn't know what TikTok. All right, so you go on TikTok and you see those people rearranging those drawers in about 10 seconds. They've got about 29,000 bags of groceries. They're fitting in that one little drawer. In the morning, you know that one, right?
That's a lot of TikTok.
It takes about 10 seconds, right?
Okay.
I'm looking at going, no, and that's not happening that way. In the mortgage world, you can't do that stuff that they're showing you on that social media site without getting somebody involved, because just like TikTok, those 29,000 bags of groceries don't fit in that drawer in reality. And we're here to tell you about reality, okay? Right. So maybe I do know what TikTok is. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Hey, Sotero, let's go to these days on the market and what's really going on here locally in Southeast Michigan. So we're all throwing it out there saying, look, you better be ready to go. Competition has never been this fierce, and we're going to see it. It's going to continue. So the numbers are telling me that way back in 2017 and 19, it was more like 67, 85 days on the market. Now, we were 27% below that level for days on the market really last year. Now it's looking like if a house goes on the market, it's gone in 30 days. Again, if the house is dressed up, they've already met with their selling agent, the listing agent's given them all the great information. If that house is literally ready to go, it's on the market for what, less than 3 weeks?
Yes, still less than 3 weeks.
So that's the heads up out there for everyone out there. This isn't like when you call me up and we were alluding to this. We have several clients. I have 20 pre-approvals. They're all going to go after the same house. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that, Becky, with every lender in town. So if I talk to a couple buddies at other lending institutions like Harvey, I've got all these buyers. So that's the message I really want to get across this morning is you have to separate yourself from the herd and get that offer accepted. It might take this relationship you have with your real estate agent, with your lender, to understand escalation clauses and all these nuances that are back in play.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to make sure that people are understanding what they're getting into. And you can throw your hat in the ring, but then what happened in 2020 is people were like, yeah, I want to win, and I'm going to win, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And now they had buyer's remorse because they were like, crap. I'm over $50,000 over asking. They had great rates, but no one's over here bragging that they paid extra $70,000 for the house.
Yeah. So Becky, what's happening right now? And Harvey brought up the great word, herd. People aren't people; they're sheeple. So what they're waiting for people to do, they're waiting for everybody. It's like they're at the starting gate and they're waiting for the race. Instead of going out now, they're waiting until spring comes. As soon as it hits 60 degrees, the sun's out, so then that's when the race begins for them along with all the other sheeple. So they're going to go right out of the starting gate. But the people right now that are out before them, they're already lapping them because they've already put in 2 or 3 offers. Yep. Unfortunately, they were rejected. They didn't get the house that they wanted, but they're further ahead in the process in this race. So they're lapping the people that are going to come out. As soon as that sun comes out and it starts getting warm, you watch what happens. And then people are going to be behind the 8 ball. And as Becky said, everybody's going to be competing for the same properties. Yep. And it's going to get crazy.
It's true. I mean, the ones that, the buyers that have been putting in offers consistently since January, they're looking and they're understanding how to get just strategic in like winning these offers. And what Sotero was saying, there's a reason why we say that. And when you listen, the individuals that are right off the rip have an amazing team surrounding them. They're the ones that are winning these offers much faster than the ones that are not really heeding the advice of the professionals, like between the guarantees. But we're also, the other thing that I want to touch on is we're not out here, nor is anyone out here to put you in a position where you're not comfortable. If that house is going to be outpriced for you and it doesn't suit your needs and you feel you're going to be spread too thin, we're going to have those honest conversations because not every property is for you. And it might look great, but if it's going to extend you in your affordability and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, then that's okay. Yeah. You don't have to win that if you're going to be uncomfortable. And it's just really having those honest conversations and setting up that budget that is going to suit your need. Because there is a house out there for everybody, but it's finding the right one for you that's going to meet that affordability needs.
Right.
Go ahead, Stu.
You know, I'm thinking back what you're saying about buyers already in the market and got some practice. They're becoming, I call that a new buyer that starts out, they they don't want to bid too. They want to bid low. They
They're
have all
nervous.
these things that
Yeah.
they see and they lose, and then they become seasoned after a few disappointments. Now they start to listen to the realtor, and so they become seasoned. So you want to get out in the market now because these buyers are already seasoned. They're already there. They're ready now. They are ready to bid properly. And so it's just like a seasoned fighter.
It's a process.
It's a process.
It's a whole process, and people don't realize that. It's not, we want to make it enjoyable, Harvey. We always say, Harvey, like, I want to make home buying fun. Well, there's a lot that might not be fun about it. And like anything else, when your mom told you to go out and have fun today, Mom, it's only good when we win. Okay? It's
Yeah.
only good when we win.
I mean, it's going to be the
only
Hunger
fun
Games.
when
Yeah.
we win.
In 60 more days, it's going to be the Hunger Games out there, and people are like, I volunteer as tribute. Like, it's. I mean, it's going to get pretty wild out there. But the fact that we're already looking down the road, so all these things are happening. We are responding. We're not reacting. Our buyers are in these positions of strength. They're comfortable. We've already identified what the max and the minimum is that they feel comfortable with going for. And that's where we're staying. We're not going above or below because it's all about that comfort level and setting you up for success now and then down the road.
All righty, we're up against our second break here. Come and join the show, 248-539-9797. We got tons to share with you. We got some inflation numbers. We got some data for you. People are buying houses. It's 2023. Let's go. When we come back, we'll show you how to get that house. All righty, we are back. Good morning. If you're just tuning in, it's 9:28. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. That's where you can find us all week long. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. I'm Harvey Freed. He's Harry Glantz. She's Becky Alley. And Satiro Lopez joins us from eXp Realty. We've got open lines, 248-539-9797. Again, if you want to send us one of these ticket text things, you can. I might read it. And if you get a real interesting question, give us a call, though. We'd love to hear from you. Back, a little bit of action. We'll talk about some ugly houses in a good neighborhood. We're going to talk about location. But I want to throw it out there as rates have burped up a little in the last week or two. Maybe that 2-1 buy down is in place. So if you've got that ugly house that's just not selling, there's something wrong. Maybe that seller needs to sit down, get creative with their listing agent, and realize that we can manipulate the sales price and make the house more and more a better offer for the buyers. Potentially the buyers could get in with some seller's concessions. They might want to use it towards buying down their rate. They might want to use it towards getting into the house because they're missing out on a little bit of money. Becky, they need that extra money to make it a pretty house.
For sure. And concessions is basically when someone's asking seller to pay concessions, the seller is taking some of their money that they would in turn pocket and give it to the buyer to help offset costs and things like that. So there's multifaceted, multiple programs out there that are very situational. So what Harvey's talking about is a 2-1 buy down where a seller would agree to pay X amount towards your closing costs that would help the buyer in turn get a temporary lower rate for the first 2 years, right? So the first year would be X, second year would be Y, and then the third year would go back to the mature rate of where we started from. So in a situation like that with the ugly house that's been sitting a little bit longer, yes, that makes sense. But for the newer houses that are fresh on the market that everyone is going to be going after, getting an offer accepted with concessions is not impossible, but it's going to be a little bit more tough in this particular market.
Yeah, so Tara, I want to go back to the real estate portion of it, and I don't like to swim in that lane. I like to stay in my own lane, so I'm not going to get involved in any realtor's business. But as a realtor, if you have a lister, and in this market, that house has been sitting on the market for you to X amount of weeks in this market, what do you tell them? Because there's clearly, after a lot of showings, something going on with that house that they're going to have to make an adjustment. I mean, what do you tell somebody like that in this market? Because their eyes are probably closed. They probably thought that they should have sold that house within 2-3 weeks, and it's just not selling. So what do you tell that person?
Well, for one, I try to talk to a listing agent and see, is the seller motivated? There's something. It's always price. It is always price, which would be based on conditions and where it's at and so forth. And so when you're competing as a buyer, those are and you're losing, then you want to look at the ones that have been on the market 3-4 weeks or beyond, because now that's your target, especially if you need concessions. So there's a lot of room to play there. So I try to find out the motivation. Like, what is it money owed? Like mortgage, you have a bottom line. I mean, what is it going to take? And those are the ones that you want to target. If you're competing and you're losing, is the ones that have been on the market for a while. It's just priced too high at the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
You might get a little bit of a discount if it's an ugly house in a good neighborhood or a good neighborhood. Did I say it the other way? Yeah.
No, yeah, you're
or
right.
vice
You're right.
versa.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you have to see that value and you have to make that decision. And that's where that education, knowing the neighborhoods and sort of figuring it out. Like you said, if you get 2 or 3 offers where you didn't get anything accepted, you get a little bit more frustrated now. So you got to go back and put that stronger plan together. Do you see some families even saying, you know what, Sotero, let's open up to a couple more cities here. Let's change our location and have some more opportunity. Do you see that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of the market the way it is, that there's low inventory, so buyers are willing to, they'll start like, I want only here. And then now they expanded the map and the options. So houses that have been listed a long time is an option, but also houses that nobody may want is the ugly houses, to where you can put some sort of plan together to where because buyers at that point, they become seasoned. So like, okay, all right, I wanted all this, but now I'm willing to, let's go here and let's go take a look at this opportunity.
Is there a nicer word for ugly house? I'm just trying to come up with it. There must be something else. It's ugly.
Wait, distressed?
It's
Yeah.
distress, right?
Disarray.
Distressed, maybe.
Yeah, disarray. There you
It's
go.
in disarray.
Disarray.
Need some loving.
Ugly's
Need some
hard, man.
loving.
Can you say ugly in
Live in forever.
2023?
No, it's not a nice word.
Can you say that? I don't know if you
like
can say
it.
ugly in 2023, Harv.
I mean, we did. That's fine. But like the point though is that you like sometimes it's kind of painting that picture of when you can't see it for yourself, and it's okay to get into the house that might needs a little bit of work, but if you get a good price on it, right? If you don't have to pay $20,000 over and you can get it at a good deal, still have a seller pay some of your closing costs, and then you renovate it to your liking. At this point, because contractors, they have slowed down a little bit. You're not going to be, renovating for a year and a half, hopefully.
Becky, when I first got married back in the mid 80s, I bought our first house. First of all, Randy wasn't with me. I bought the house. It was yellow with a brown roof. And you know what I said? I can paint it. Not me. I'm not painting. Not me personally.
Yeah.
I can get it painted, get a new roof on it, and make it the way I want. And the house was on the market for a while because it did not have that curb appeal. So, yeah, if you go ahead and aesthetically it's not pleasing, like Sotero said, there's an opportunity there. If it's been sitting on the market, it's not aesthetically pleasing. The house had great bones anyways. And I said, yeah, let's go for it. Put in the offer, got accepted. Painted the house, got a new roof, did a lot of stuff on the inside, and it was great.
Now, I
Never
want to
a
bring up
problem.
something we talked about, I believe on the podcast. I want to revisit this because we're talking about the house that might be in disarray, which means that you're definitely not going to want to waive the private home inspection. It's a
Right.
big thing, right? But right now, it's becoming a thing where people are, some people, it's situational. Some people can not have a private home inspection because they have the skill set and people in place that can identify these issues. But some of these first-time buyers do not. So in these situations, we are talking about possibly aligning yourself with that home inspector to go with you on these showings to therefore, so that way you don't have to waive the home inspection. You have to get a little bit creative in these situations. And it's something like a house that's in the disarray, the ugly house, for example, you do not want to waive that home inspection.
So that was it. That was the situation, Sotero, that came up.
Yep.
So I had a client, they're actually their son and daughter-in-law, they looked at dozens and dozens of homes. And the sticking point for the sellers was that inspection. So guess what? They called up and said, hey, what do we do? I said, why don't you do yourself a favor? Why don't you go ahead and take an inspector with you when you start looking at houses? This way you'll be ready to pull the trigger, let them walk around the house. Maybe you have a realtor that obviously you have a relationship with, stick around the house for an hour and 15, which I know is unusual, but the guy did a walkthrough. They were happy with what he said. They put an offer, and in that case, and you know how I feel about waiving an inspection, but they did it opposite. They kind of did it up front on the down low, and then their offers got accepted. By the way, they still paid $25,000 over the asking price, but they didn't have to go through that formal inspection because they kind of did a cursory inspection.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I do not advise no inspection at all.
I knew I liked them.
At all.
Yeah,
right away.
100%.
Yeah.
You will completely just destroy your life if something comes up later and costs you thousands of dollars when you could have paid an inspector a few bucks, maybe a couple hundred,
Few hundred,
300,
right.
Yeah.
just to go with you, or take a contractor, somebody that understands houses, to look for the major things that you can't see right away. The details, if the wiring's kind of funky inside, you can worry about later. But the major things, you want to do that.
Now, I got to say that there's no substitution for that full inspection. There's no guarantee, so I'm not going to put it out there. Because,
Right.
I have to cover us legally, Harvey.
Yeah,
You
that's true.
can't-
It's true. It's just
so
real.
We have to let everybody know that, there are no guarantees. And, there might be something wrong with the house, but
There's
chances
no
are there
guarantees
might
when
not
you
be.
have a private home inspection either. Some
Exactly.
people might miss something. You're absolutely
Agreed.
right.
And that happens all the time.
If
so
you don't
everybody
scoop
out
those
there-
sewer lines, and that's a choice that you make, then that is on no one but
Yeah.
ourselves, that you did not scope the sewer lines, and if it comes up, it comes up. So you have to do your due diligence the best you can. But I will say this to Sotero, I don't care what kind of property it is. I don't care if it's an investor. I don't care if it's someone with deep pockets. Anytime I'm in line with this man, he is always advising that private home inspection, and he is really, really good at getting those sellers to understand the needs of the buyer and getting them to bend a little bit, so that way both people are winning in these situations. Because whether the house is in perfect shape or a little bit of mediocre shape or really bad shape, he is really good at identifying it and getting those concessions towards his clients.
It's sort of this professional approach, Sotero. You'll see it too. Is we it's the same amount of things that have to be done, but we change the order of them. We change the process. So, for example, I've had clients where it's an older house and it's in the rural area, and we know that the well and septic's going to be bad. So we do that first. So if the well and septic is a $25,000 problem, we don't need to do the home inspection or the appraisal. So sometimes just changing the order of things. And then Harry came up with this, and we're seeing more and more of it. Smarter ways to do this. A new way of inventing the mousetrap, basically, is you bring the inspector. Usually we don't even know who the inspector is, Sotero. You and I buy a house together, and then you give me the number of your inspector, and then he comes out. Well, how about it right at the beginning? I call Joe up, the inspector, or Sally, whoever it is, and say, hey, I'm hiring you to come with me to this house. I have an appointment tomorrow. It's Saturday. Our time is at 3:00. Can I set you up? I'm going to pay you at that. And like Harry said, you got the smart person walking around. If anyone asks questions, it could be Uncle Louie here. He's the inspector. But
Uncle Louie.
Uncle Louie.
Good old Uncle Louie.
Good old Uncle Louie.
Harvey. And I remember the first house I bought. Yeah, actually, I took a home builder with me. And it was awesome. Tommy Wyjack did it for me. I'll throw Tommy's name out. He listens once in a while. Tommy went with me. I never forgot Tom. I owe you dinner or something. In 1995, he went with me, and he goes, Harvey, this house is pretty solid. We're in the attic. We're doing all these things. So I knew ahead of time. So as an agent, I sort of like that, don't you? That you're not getting that phone call after the inspection saying, hey, man, we uncovered a whole bunch of problems.
Right, I 100% agree with that. You might even go with your buyer the first time, and then go back a second time. If they like it, we love this house. We want to put an offer in it. Okay, well, let's go over there. Let's get an inspector to just do a quick walkthrough so that we can go ahead and put in a no inspection to be more competitive. You can bring them a second time. You can do that. Investors make offers on ugly houses no inspection. But I guarantee you, they either know about the structure of a house or they bring their contractors first to get an idea before they do that. So they've already been doing that already. It just the regular buyers are used to just doing an inspection after I'm on a contract, but because of the way things are shifted, just like you said, get that inspection first. So have somebody just run through you, even if it's on a second showing. Come back with the inspector the second time if you like it the first time.
Which is a beautiful thing that people can actually, right now, our buyers out there, you can still see a house right now. Even though they're going very fast, you do have opportunities to maybe see it a time or two at this point, which is great. But what we're kind of describing is you have to be creative. It's about finding these creative solutions to mend these temporary pains. We're moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We're trying to hit a target going 1,000 miles an hour between getting your offer in, making sure that you stand out, making sure the house is really, really nice, making sure that, you know, the proper conversations are being had on your behalf between the lending side and the real estate side. And, you know, we have to be able to pivot on a dime so that way the deal doesn't perish.
I'll throw in condominiums now. Again, we were sort of focusing on the housing. Now, condominiums are a little bit different play because the association is going to put a new roof on. But as a seller, it's so important as a listing agent, too, that they work with the sellers to get all that information up front. By having that where you can give it to the buyer and say, this is the association fee, these are the up and coming projects, you can set yourself up for maybe even netting more money on the sale of your condo. Satira, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to let you talk about housing versus condominiums and this whole inspection conversation. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. We are back live. 944. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. In our 23rd year of giving you this mortgage and real estate conversation, making you a successful homeowner. Tara Lopez, eXp Realty, joins us now. We've got a caller. Actually, we're going to go to our first caller of the day, if you can bring that one up. Good morning, Sid. Sid, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good morning. Go ahead with your question.
Well, I'm here I live in Ann Arbor. I own a house. I'm 60 now, and it's just getting a little overwhelming to me to own a house. And it's not an ugly, you were talking about ugly houses, I guess.
We have another word for it, but we haven't figured it out, but yes.
Unattractive.
Yeah, but it's just, I'm just kind of behind on some stuff, and I would like to sell, but it's not, everyone talks about getting it in, great condition, and that's just like it'd just be tough right now, or just be a lot more work.
So, Taro, he said Ann Arbor, though. He might have an unattractive house now. Needs a lot of maintenance. He's a little behind on it. But, boy, Ann Arbor location.
Yeah. And it's a very nice neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood, too. I mean, I'm like a mile from campus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Real estate in itself is hot, but Ann Arbor is even hotter, and you don't, fortunately, a lot of sellers don't realize that you don't have to, it depends on really what you want to do. If you say, okay, I want to get top dollar, what do you think I should do? Then I can tell you some things you should do. But if it's like, you know what, I don't really feel like doing any of this, can I still sell the house? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can still sell the house.
You'll get out there and again, and he might not want to sell this year or next year. He's
Right.
not sure where he's going to go. But if it's to the point, it does get to a point where maybe now would retain some of his money. Again, all of a sudden you're not keeping up on some maintenance. Now you've got a flood in the basement or a roof that's causing more issues. So
what's his So what are the things that you're concerned about, and then what is your plan after you sell? Oh, we lost him. Okay. We lost him. Okay, so we'll give him a call after.
It depends the depth of the repairs he needs to do, and if it matters or it doesn't matter. If it's cosmetic, might not be a big deal. You just don't know. It's situational,
Yeah, so
right?
that's the thing too. So that's why I was curious to hear, because it's almost like the buyers that we speak to, they don't try to apply for a mortgage because they think they're not going to get approved, but in reality, it's really not that bad. So some of the things that he might be concerned about might be really just non-even issue items in a great area in Ann Arbor, right by Michigan, right? It's amazing. That's right a mile from the campus. I mean, that is like,
that's huge.
People are like literally will do whatever they got to do for the property.
A lot of
Absolutely.
overpayers, a lot of investors are going to overpay for that property.
Yes.
So, Sarah, before the break, we started talking about condominiums because, again, some families look at it and say, wow, I'm going to get into a condo. This is going to be a better lifestyle. Again, the association fees can get rather expensive. But even for a gentleman like this, he mentioned 60 years old, and maybe that's like the starting age where families say, well, I don't want to cut the lawn anymore and things of that nature. But let's just talk about that. Condominiums are definitely holding their value, and there's less involved in it. If you are a homeowner, first-time home, if you don't want to do anything, maybe condominium lifestyle is better for some families.
Yeah, absolutely. And, condos seem, I used to personally like condos, but with the rise of gas, I pay a lawn company to cut my lawn, and now they went up on their rates. And last year I ended up cutting myself. I mean, this is just crazy, like the maintenance. But condos, like you say, they take care of the roof. You never have to worry about the roof, you do the snow removal, a whole lot of things. And like we were talking about inspection before, condos are more, I'm more comfortable with going with no inspection on a condo than an actual house, because the foundation you have to worry about. But like you said, all the amenities, all the things, if they have pools, if they have tennis courts, it gives you a different lifestyle experience than living in a house, and it's more simpler.
Yeah, that's a great point, because home ownership comes with certain responsibilities, right?
Yes.
Upkeep, all the maintenance you have to do, the landscape, everything that's associated with owning a single-family residence there on your own. People that don't want to, sometimes older people don't like to do all that work, and maybe they want to move into a condo, or you're a younger
Young
person.
people don't want to do it either.
Or you're a younger person, you say, you know what, my time is just worth more. I don't want, but it depends on your lifestyle, on whether you want to do the work or not. And condos are a great alternative to doing, you have to pay the association fee. Somebody's got to do it. So whether you pay somebody or do it yourself, you might end up doing that anyways when you buy a house. So it's just, again, we say it's situational.
Yep.
Depends on your lifestyle and what you want to accomplish. But we're seeing condominiums is really right now, as Sotero said, going up in value and really a safe space and a safe place to live.
Well, the
Go ahead.
associations, though, I mean, you have to make sure that you're reading the bylaws. You know, like the association, you also have to abide by their rules. Can you put a flag up? Can you paint the door? Like, there's rules that you have to abide by. Also, when was the last time they put a roof? There's all these special assessments that do come into play that are going to raise that association fee, which goes into your affordability.
Are they in litigation?
Correct.
Are there budget
Yes.
issues? I mean, do they have enough money in their coffers to go ahead and do all the repairs, assessments, right? And like I said, legal issues. Do they have any lawsuits against them? What's their liability? So there are all kinds of things. I know my attorney buddy Adam would be proud that he did call in, or he texted me 3 weeks ago when we were having that inspection discussion about don't waive an inspection ever. So when you have condominium associations, you might want to run it by an attorney just to take a look at what the bylaws are there.
As well as your lender. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
important that
right.
as we are pre-approving someone, it is very important that if you're even flirting with the idea of a condo, you need to verbally state that, because we have to factor in at minimum a $250 association. But it really, to be honest with you, I'm actually plugging in closer to $400 because they're not $250 anymore 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that, Sotero. Of course, they do need more maintenance on these. Maybe the unit's a little bit older, so you got to check out what their budget is. So it's really important, and we urge always the listing agents to go after that. Get that information up front so they can show it to the buyers. Becky alluded to a whole bunch of things that are do's and do not. You might not be able to paint the door. You might not be able to have huge dogs. You might only be able to have one pet. You have these animal restrictions and stuff. And then other things. There's a slower appreciation, a little bit slower appreciation, generally speaking. You might not be able to Airbnb it if that's something down the road you were thinking of. So do your homework. Again, buying, whether it's a house or in a subdivision, they might have the same thing. Sotero, we see this. The roads are deteriorating here in Southeast Michigan in a lot of subdivisions. They didn't want to bite the bullet and pay $10,000 per household 10 years ago. By the way, that price now is $35,000 per home. We see it all across Southeast Michigan.
Yes. I'm thinking about what you were saying regarding the association. You might even want to knock a few doors of the tenants and ask them, well, what's the association like? Sometimes you'll have that one person in association who's just like a watchdog, and they would just report everything. So those some things you can just do yourself to find out amongst all the legal stuff and everything and what you can do. Can you rent it out one day? Or even like what Becky was saying, that you want to check with your mortgage person because you may have got approved for FHA, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go buy a condo. But maybe that condo may not be FHA approved.
Right?
Yep. So
Great point.
the amount of information that we can spit at someone is will literally make your head explode. So we're here to uncomplicate something that can be very complicated, and we know what to look for, and we drive right to it. We go very specific, because the due diligence that we do up front before you fall in love with a house would literally, if people knew what we do behind the scenes, it'd make them blush, right? But that's what our job is to do, is to make sure that we're protecting you now and in the future. So if you tell me you're looking for a condo, I'm going to identify some certain things. Harvey's really good at it as well. We know what to look for, because it's not just, you don't have to do the maintenance, but there's other things that go along with it. So
lots of things that'll pop up on you. Well, there's no doubt Americans have been racking up tons of debt, tons and tons of debt. $1 trillion in credit card debt, a record amount. High inflation at the end of the pandemic. And the stimulus programs have forced many to drain their savings accounts. Yeah, they're using their credit cards. That's not good stuff. Hey, if you bought a house, great news for you. You've got a lot of built-in equity. Let us show you. Again, not everyone's got tons of equity. You might not be able to release that equity either, but we can show you how to use that equity positively by either figuring out a home equity loan for you or a cash-out refinance. You must deal with expert mortgage people. This is very important stuff. Do the right thing for your family. Again, Harry, those credit cards are over 20%. We don't have to go there. Take a look at the numbers. We say it all the time.
Let's go there. Wait a minute.
Math
People
don't lie.
don't even.
Do the
People
math.
do not even bat an eyelash at
Is
paying
7.5?
obscene.
Is 7.5, 7.75 on a cash out refinance transaction better? Yes or no? It's yes or no question. Better than 19, 20, 21% on a credit
Circle
card.
would get the
Yes.
square in that
Thank you.
situation.
Okay,
yes.
that's it. That's all you need to know about
okay,
that.
so think about it. People do not bat an eyelash at the interest that they're paying on lease cars and cars they're buying.
It's like loan
and,
sharking.
and credit cards. But like 6.5 on an interest rate. I don't know.
Like, oh my God.
I don't know. And now, mind you, this is temporary pain.
Right.
We are going to see a cycle. Now, when that's going to happen, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you an exact date, but we will see rates coming down at some point in time. Again, we're not going to see what they were in COVID ever again in our lifetimes, in my opinion, but they are going to settle down a little bit less. But to that point is everything is situational. People are very much still refinancing, and they're very much saving money because everyone, you might have a divorce situation. You might have overextended yourself over the last 2 years, like Harvey was alluding. People are saving thousands of dollars, but again, you have to have the conversations. And a HELOC or home equity line of credit is not always a solution right now.
But Becky, there are people right now, they're driving around and they're going to sit in line at Costco to save 3 cents a gallon of gas, but yet they're charging on their credit card and paying 19, 20, 21, up to 24% on their credit card. That's called being nickel wise and dollar foolish. If you're sitting there with 20% credit card debt, but you're in line at Costco to save 2 cents a gallon,
It's more than 2 cents. I'm going to go
But it
there.
goes back to the-
30 cents a
Whatever.
gallon.
Okay, so do the math. 15 gallons time what? 5? What are you saving? When you've got $20,000 on your credit card, paying 20%.
But it goes back to the original
on.
conversation in the beginning.
Come on
If
with me.
you're not seeing what the value of home ownership is, the investor does. And they don't care what the interest rates are because they know that if you're not buying your own house, you're going to be renting theirs at 100% interest. So
No question.
just have the conversations and align yourself with the right people and invest in yourself.
Be a little smarter each day.
So, Tara, we're coming up to the end here. Affordability issues have been long scrutiny here in Metro Detroit. We remain very affordable. There's no doubt about it. Just comment on that. Sort of our last comments here before we get out. Prices are still down, but they're going up, and we do see a slight increase already in 2023 over last year.
Yes, affordability here in Michigan as a whole. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can tell you because I get calls from people in California, Nevada, and other states that are wanting to buy here everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, we have gold in front of us, and locally we may not even recognize how good we have it. And so, the affordability is still there, and a lot of other people see it. We just need to see it.
That's so true. I mean, like, because they're coming from places they've been priced out. They can't afford it. So where are they going? They're going where it hasn't been tapped. There's still minerals here, right? They're still they can get into this natural equity, and they want a part of that.
All righty, that is going to wrap up our show, and it was a great show. Satira Lopez,
Thank you.
eXp Realty. Always appreciate you coming on. We'll get you
Good
back
dude,
on
man.
the air again.
Yeah.
And if you need a great real estate agent, definitely call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll hook you up with Satiro and all the great agents that always come on the show. Harry, you got some final thoughts?
Yeah, don't forget to set your clocks back. Daylight savings time. Come on, spring back. Here we go. Let's go. You're going to lose an
Spring
hour of sleep
forward.
today.
Spring
forward.
forward.
Right, no, you send it back.
No,
No, it's
spring
fall
forward.
back,
Wait.
spring forward.
Wait. If it's 10 o'clock, when do I set my clock back to?
You're good. It's gonna be 9 now. You lose an hour.
So,
Right, that's
Harry,
what I
at
meant.
1 o'clock this morning, you put it till 2. Yeah, we'll get
Well,
this
spring
figured
forward.
out.
It's sooner, not later. That's what it is.
I'm setting my clock back.
Now we don't have to worry about it. Our phones do automatically.
Yeah, it's true.
Good stuff.
Your
Well,
phone will tell you what time it
keep
is.
it here on 97.1 The Tick. We got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. We will see you next Saturday on the Hardcore Mortgage Show. We'll see you then.